Hi everybody, I'm Leah of seejanedrill. Now I got to tell you, is this your first time here? Because if it is, welcome. This is a DIY home improvement channel where there's a little bit of a slant toward carpentry and woodworking. Now today's video, well, we're going to be using this right here. And I'm going to tell you what it is and show you how to use it coming up next. Now, whether I'm working inside my shop or I'm outside in the elements, writing the rain all-weather notebooks, keep my notes in good shape. Write in the rain notebooks, repel rain, sweat, and grime. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do what's called a dowel joint. And that's what these are. These are dowels. And let me pull a dowel in so you can see it a little more close up. This is called a fluted dowel. Now, what you do is you put the two pieces together like this. Let me snap that in place. There you go. And it makes an incredibly strong joint, especially when you introduced glue to that joint. Now the tool we're going to use to make that joint is this right here. It's called a Dowel Jig. And of course a jig is a tool that helps another tool do its job and keep it on track. It helps your drill very straight holes so that when you insert the wooden dowels in the joint, they'll line up perfectly. So the one thing about dowels is they come in different diameters. This is 1/4 inch here, this is 3/8 of an inch and up. You might have seen dowel material like this where you just make your own dowel, but the outside is smooth. So this here is a dowel set, and it's a set of 3 different jigs. So our first jig here is a 1/4 inch jig, as it's denoted here. And I'm going to pick up a 1/4 inch dowel, and you can see it fits in that hole pretty snugly. That's what you want, okay? So if you see it right over here, this is a 3/8. That's what we're going to be using today. And as you can see, well, that accepts the fluted 3/8 dowel. And then over here is a 1/2 inch. I'm going to look this up as well, and as you can see, the holes gradually get larger. Each one of these jigs comes with its own drill bit, and that drill bit obviously fits the hole, right? So the last thing that I want to point out about the set is this here. Now what is it? Well, it works as a stop. I've already attached it to our 3/8 drill bit here. It works as a stop, so you're not drilling all the way through the wood, and so that you can set your dowels to the proper depth. So as a side note, the way these things work is you just slide that stop onto your drill bit. They slide on very easily. Once you set the depth, you take your Allen wrench or hex wrench, that's what this is. You insert it and you tighten it up. Okay, that's pretty tight. And what that will do is it'll prevent it from sliding up and down the drill bit and really act as the stop. Now, we're going to join these 2 pieces of wood. This is just scrap wood that I got out of the shop here, and we're going to bring these 2 pieces together like this. Now, you know what? You're not limited in any way of how you join wood. You know, we might want to join it this way, or we might want to butt it up at the end and join it in that way. There are a lot of different configurations, but for simplicity's sake, let's just do long grain to long grain. Now, the first thing I have to do is I have to decide where exactly I'm going to place my dowels. And well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put one dowel, what about right here? And I'm going to put another dowel right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the 2 pieces of wood together, because this is the mating side, right? Pull those 2 pieces together. I've got my marks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a combination square like this, or any square. You can use any square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry that line across both pieces of wood and make it kind of dark, because you want to be able to see it through the jig. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to that other mark I made, okay? I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to make a nice heavy line, just like that, okay? So I've got both pieces married up. Now I know where I need to set my jig, okay? Now our next step is, this is really important. The camera needs to come in close. There's a little line there. Can you see that line? There's also a line on the other side here, okay, a little short line. And these lines line up perfectly and center to each one of these holes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wood here, okay? I'm going to take my wood, and this line here, I'm going to place it right there. Right on that line. And you want it to line up perfectly. You don't want to be skewed to the left or the right of it. You want it dead on. So make certain that it's centered perfectly, and then you clamp it in place. Now, before we move on to the next step, we have to set the depth of the drill bit, you know, how it's going to bore into our wood. So the easiest way to do it is just to insert this so I can show you what's going on, okay? I've got my stop already attached, and this has already been set. So I'm going to just slide that in to my jig, all right? Now, what I want to show you is the dowel we're going to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my tape measure. I'm going to set my dowel right there. I'm going to set my dowel right there. And as you can see, it's 2 inches. That's the length of the dowel. Now, we know that our dowel is 2 inches, so we know that 1 inch is going to be on this side and 1 inch is going to be on that side. So what you want to make certain of is that when you attach the stop here and you insert it into the jig, in our case, since our dowel is 2 inches, we want what's coming out of the bottom of the jig to be at least 1 inch. If it's a smidgen more, and here let's take our tape measure, okay? If it's a smidgen more, okay, like in our case, that's fine. Certainly don't want to be on the short end of things, because when it comes time to insert your dowels and bring your joint together, you won't be able to close it, okay? So just make certain that you don't come up short. So we've got our piece of wood, we've got our jig here. Now we're going to slide it in place. And we want to make certain that it lines up perfectly, right? And now we're going to clamp it in place. Just make certain that what you're clamping it to, all right, is stable. Okay, so I've got my first 2 holes drilled, and now we have to move on to our next piece. That's the marrying piece to this piece. So let me point something out at the tip of this wooden dowel here. If you notice, it's got a little bit of an angle cut there, a little bit of a back cut, right? Well, that's a chamfer. And what that's going to do is it makes it just easier to insert the wooden dowel. Now, before you glue any joint, you want to just do a dry fit, make certain that everything lines up perfectly. There we go, that's in there. Now, let's see. This is the moment of truth. Right on the money. Now, when you're doweling a joint, it's easy when you've got an edge, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's an edge where it's a long grain against long grain, or you got an edge like this. Doesn't matter as long as you got an edge. That's easy. But what happens if you're trying to set dowels and join 2 pieces of wood, and one of the pieces of wood is smack dab in the center of the board? You have no edge to attach the jig to. So in a case like this, you really can't use the jig. What you have to do is just have to measure the distance between each dowel, okay, like I have here, and just drill by hand. So we've got our holes drilled, and now we just have to insert it. There we go. Nice tight joint. That's it, folks. It's a pretty simple joint to do with a dowel jig, right? And hopefully I showed you just how easy it is. Now what I will tell you is I always place a link in the description below to tools that I use in my videos so that you can check it out for yourself. But I want to tell you this, a dowel jig is the kind of thing you can make yourself. Save a little money, make one, but if you don't have time, well, check out the link below. This is Leah saying, you can do this. See you next time.